there's something so incredibly satisfying about seeing that Nekima Armstrong with her hands behind her back in an obvious handcuffed position as they place her under arrest for terrorizing innocent Christians. Your thoughts on it, Allie?
Yeah, she's probably going to use this to try to fundraise, to line her own pockets, but who cares? This is justice. However she wants to use it, however her allies want to use it to try to enrich themselves is their business. This was the right thing to do. And honestly, for so long, we have gotten used to a lot of politicians just talking tough and not really doing anything. So even though I like Pam Bondi, I like the DOJ, I like what they're doing, I wasn't really sure if anything would happen. When I saw this headline, when I saw this picture today, I said, oh my gosh, it actually happened. And when I think about the FACE Act, I just had Harmeet Dillon on my show last week, and she was saying how the FACE Act has almost been exclusively used by Democrats to prosecute pro-lifers who are even just praying in front of an abortion clinic. But now they're using it to go after people who are impeding worship, whether it's at a synagogue or a church. And so this is why it matters who you vote for. You're not just voting for a president or a vice president. You are voting for everyone else too. You are voting for a definition of justice. Do you want a definition of justice that says you can't even pray outside of a center where babies are being killed? Or do you want a definition of justice that says, no, it is wrong to disrupt peaceful worshipers, to try to impede their worship, and to terrorize grandmothers and children who are just trying to pray? Every day, I am so thankful that the seemingly impossible happened in November of 2024.
Yes, 100%. And now I hear, we had a legal debate on the show yesterday, and there was a question about whether the FACE Act will apply because were they physically obstructing worship? Has there been case law that says physically obstructing requires the people cannot leave? I was looking at the case law this morning, and there was a case just in the past couple of years. It's always used against, the protesters outside the abortion clinics. It's never used to protect the religious churchgoers. But, we have a new sheriff in town with Trump, so it's being used properly. So in this case, it happened under Joe Biden. It was in 2023. And two people, they actually, for once, prosecuted people who terrorized a pregnancy center. Mm-hmm. Not an abortion clinic, a pregnancy center. And this was down in Florida. It was the AUSA down in Florida. So we had somebody who was a little bit more fair and balanced bring charges against these two. And they had spray painted on the clinic something to the effect of, if so-and-so aren't safe, people who want, I guess, abortions aren't safe, neither are you.
Right.
Again, they were a little misguided because pregnancy centers are not trying to hurt anybody. They're actually just trying to help all involved.
Yep.
But in any event, the people who spray painted, they didn't go to the clinic. They didn't block the clinic. They didn't do anything. They just said, if these people aren't safe, neither are you, were found guilty under the FACE Act of causing a threat. That was a threat that was good enough under the FACE Act because they had threatened these people. I mean, these people standing in the middle of the aisles, obstructing the pathways in and out, causing the parishioners to cower in hugs and tears, which we saw repeatedly, getting in their faces, screaming in their faces, right? Like, why aren't you down at the federal center standing up for immigrants? Why don't you get over there and stand up for Somalis? Not to mention the hands up, don't shoot, right, over and over, chanting something about shooting and getting your hands up in front of children who cannot possibly understand that that's a reference to 2015 and Michael Brown. You're going to tell me that one line spray painted qualified under the FACE Act, but all of that didn't? And that was Joe Biden's Department of Justice.
Right.
Now we've got somebody who really means it, who's really going to go for it. And it's all on tape. They're done, Allie Beth. They're done.
Yeah, I guess apparently, according to what you just said, that intimidation counts as impeding worship. If someone is so scared to go into a pregnancy center or go into a church because they are afraid, and honestly, justifiably so afraid, that their lives could be at risk. I mean, everyone has very good reason to fear a left-wing mob right now. After we saw what happened to Trump, we saw what happened to Charlie, we've seen what happens to pro-lifers who make a pro-abortion person angry. Like, we know that the left gets violent really quickly. directly. So they have a reasonable cause to say, I don't think that I can go worship with the body of Christ. And if that's the case, it seems to me, not as a legal scholar, just logically, that would count as intimidation. That case down in Florida, I'm so glad that those people did get jailed. That's Jane's Revenge. They're a pro-abortion terrorist group. They did that to pregnancy centers across the country. They got 120 days there, but of course, pro-life grandmother who prays in front of a pregnancy center got years. Thank goodness Trump pardoned them.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so what you have to prove is that by force, by threats, or by physical obstruction, that you interfered with the congregants. So they have to prove either force, threats, or physical obstruction. I think we have both threats and physical obstruction here.
Right.
And if the case law says physical obstruction means they were not able to leave, I still think there's wiggle room, because you can see people. Why would you be huddling in a group hug in the corner if you felt totally free to walk out? Clearly, they did not feel free to leave. But secondly, you don't even have to have that. You've got the threats, the threatening behavior. You don't have to say, I threaten you.
Right.
You don't have to say, I am going to shoot you.
Yeah.
In order for it to be a threat. There are a lot of behavior and words can qualify as threats. They're all over these tapes because these morons, Don Lemon chief among them, Allie, did us the favor of videotaping the whole thing. I mean, I suppose in a way we owe BLM and Don a thank you.
Yeah, I guess so. And I know you've already covered this, but you would think that a journalist who exercises his First Amendment rights, whose job depends upon the First Amendment, would understand what the First Amendment was. And the conversation that he was having with the pastor, who, by the way, wasn't yelling, shame, shame. He actually conducted himself with a ton of self-control and restraint, exercising as the shepherd of a flock, which of course as a pastor he is. And he's trying to navigate that conversation with the dumb Don Lemon. And Don Lemon's right in his face. The guy's obviously distracted. He wants to make sure that these women and children are cared for. And Don Lemon says, don't push me. I mean, what a complete joke. What a scam artist he is. Not only that he lied about the whole thing, whether or not he knew about it. Obviously, he was invited. He was caught kissing this person who is now an accused felon. But also just him already pretending to be the victim in this scenario. I mean, it's just sickening.
It is sickening, and but it's so satisfying that they're going to be held to account. And look, one violation of the FACE Act first time is a misdemeanor, but if you get charged under that Klan Act, it's a felony. And now we're in business. I mean, now you're talking about a deadly serious crime, which this should be. I mean, it should be like people want to play this off, Allie, as like, oh, whatever. They didn't hurt anybody. I've heard some of their defenders say they didn't hurt anybody. It was terrorism.
Yeah.
They went into that church. Their behavior caused children to cower in fear and cry, and Don Lemon celebrated it, saying trauma is part of the process. I mean, it's such a creepy comment. It reminded me of like a sexual assault pervert who's trying to calm down his victim, saying like trauma's part of it, trauma's part of the process. He's actually like calmly looking at them running out of the church in fear, like, this is part of it. And like, you're just going to have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Be traumatized and learn. That's how you learn from the trauma.
He said that's the purpose of a protest is trauma. Since when? I've never heard that in my life. I don't even remember hearing that in 2020. Of course, that was the result of a lot of those riots, but I've never heard someone say that out loud. And you're right. The way that he said that so calmly and matter-of-factly is very disturbing. And I hope that the other agitator, whose name I believe is Megyn Kelly, who I believe has also gone to other churches around the country and has stalked people to church, gotten their face, cussed them out, says that they're fake Christians. He apparently was very angered. I heard one congregant say by the children who were crying, started screaming that they're privileged pigs. I hope that he's next because he's obviously done this multiple times. He seems like a very unstable, dangerous guy. We know that it doesn't take very long for someone like that to kind of be edged into violence. And so I want them to continue this, to continue to bring justice and to make sure that someone like that is put away from the rest of society.
A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk to somebody from Birch Gold Group? You know, you've been thinking about it. They use an educated approach with a deep understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower right now and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold. So until January 30th, if you are a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. Consider making right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by January 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 and claim your eligibility today. Again, text MK to 989898 now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.